Hey everyone, this is Jordan. These four blocks might look identical, other than the color obviously, but they look like they function identically. They're actually written four different ways, and I'm going to show you guys how to simplify code by showing you how these four different boxes work. So to start off here, I've got four objects: O button simple, O button long, O button medium, and O button short. And I've put these all inside the test room just so you can see everything here. I didn't have to create these all right now because that's just a waste of time. So I'm going to show you with the O button simple. This is probably the easiest way to get that to work, just so you can see kind of what we would do normally. You would have a mouse enter event and you would have a mouse leave event. And then in the mouse enter, you would do something like image blend. Let me move this over so you can see it better. Image blend equals C black. And then in mouse leave, you would say image blend equals C white. And that's going to create exactly what we want. See, it does the exact same thing we were showing before. So this is probably the easiest way to do this, but what if you wanted to do this with code alone? You didn't want to use these events. There's a lot of reasons you might do that. Maybe you're creating these things dynamically with code and you don't have access to these events and you want them to have the same functionality. So let's take a look at how you would do that normally. So first thing we want to do is you need a variable entered. This is going to basically say whether or not we have entered the zone. So let's see how that would be written. So we would want if, let's get this a little closer. If position meeting mouse X, mouse Y, and ID entered equals true, else entered equals false. Okay, so that will, I'm missing a parentheses here. So that will basically turn entered on or off depending on whether or not the mouse is inside the mask for this button. And then what we want to do is we want to change the color for that, right? So let's say if entered equals true, image blend equals C black, else image blend equals C white. Okay, and this is our red button. So what this is doing is it's checking whether or not we're inside the box. Position meeting is doing that with the mouse button. It's turning entered to be true, otherwise entered is false. If entered is true, then we're changing the color to black, otherwise we're changing it to white. And white in this case is just meaning it's not being mixed with other colors, so that's just its normal color is C white. It doesn't actually change the thing white. So you can see that works exactly the same as the other way. And these two still don't work because we haven't put any code in them. So that's the long way to do this. And if you're writing a lot of code, you might say to yourself, this is a whole lot of lines to create something that is very simple. So we're just trying to find out if this is on or off. And then if you're doing this like a lot of people do it, and you're doing something like this, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines of code. Really kind of like 3 or 4-ish, but you get the idea. That's kind of the long way to do it. So let's take this and let's see if we can shorten it up. Okay, we're now looking at O button medium. This is the yellow button. This is going to be sort of our medium code. So I'm going to show you first how to shorten this top line. So we're going to save this part right here because there's no reason for us to get rid of that. That's really important. But what we want to do is we're changing this entered variable and it's a Boolean. So we want to check if it's true or false. And if you're just checking if something is true or false, there's a really nice way to shorten that right there. And let's check and see if that works. Okay, so we've got this pulled up right now, and first one works, second one works, and we just added code to the yellow, and bam, that works just great. So everything worked fine. This entered is basically checking if this is true. If it returns true, then this is now true. And I have a question for you. If I were to use the same thing and I were to do something like this, is that still going to work? Remember that with a Boolean, false equals 0 and true equals 1. So am I still able to do a full operation with that object variable? Okay, so we've got blue working, red working, and yellow also works. And you can do whatever you want here. You can add additional things. You can add additional position check, whatever you want to do. As long as this whole phrase here returns a true, this is going to be true. And as long as this is false, this is going to be false. So that's a really good way to do that. And I'll get rid of this because there's not a lot of use in checking if it's greater than 0 for a Boolean unless you're doing something in like HTML. But let's look at this last one now, and I'm going to do this in a separate green button. Let's add that in. All right, now we want to shorten this, and this same method is not going to work down here, and the reason why is here we're checking true or false. This is returning true, so this is true. But here we're not doing a true and false. We're doing a, if one is true, we're doing a C black, and if the other is true or false, we're doing a C white. So how do we do those together? That actually requires something a little more complicated called a ternary operator. It's something that I don't really see anyone doing online, and I think it is really helpful. So let's think about what's the thing that we're changing here. Here we were changing entered, so that's what's at the front. Here we're changing image blend, so let's put that at the front. So image blend, whoopsies, image blend equals, okay, now how do we do this? First, we're going to be in parentheses. So we're asking ourselves a question. Is entered true? Is entered true? Question mark. I know that seems silly, but that's the way to remember it. That's the way I remember it, at least. Is entered true? And if it is true, what do we want image blend to equal? If it is true, we want image blend to equal C black. And if it's not true, this colon right here means if it's not true, we want that image blend to be C white. So look at that right there. That is a weird looking formula. You don't see that a lot, but that question mark right there and this colon right here is going to say we want to change image blend. Now what do we change it to? If entered is true, we change it to C black. Else, we change it to C white. So let's see if that works. Here is the green. It is working. Everything's working just fine, exactly the same. So if you look at this now, we've got 2 lines of code here. 2 lines of code, where up here we had like 12 lines of code. So that is obviously a huge improvement as far as readability goes. I've heard some people say that it's actually less readable when you use these ternary operators. And I don't think that's true at all. I think as long as you can read it kind of in that silly way, is entered true, question mark, then do this. If it's false, do this. And that's just a very natural way to read things as far as I'm concerned. So here we're doing this because this is a Boolean. We're checking is it true or false, and you can put whatever the heck you want here. Here we actually want to assign some values. So that's why we're doing this ternary operator here. So hopefully that all made sense and you understand why we would do something like that. And just so you could see everything working. So we've got all of our functionality working for all of these buttons in 4 separate ways. Obviously this one is the easiest. If I were doing something like a game jam, I would just stick with that really simple code. But it's good to know how those ternary operators work, because if something's a big mountain of code, I'm not going to like looking through it. I usually am going to get lost partway through this. If I try to go through this is all very simple stuff. But it takes up a lot of space, and it can make your code look like a huge impenetrable fortress of code. So I think if you can shorten things up, that's going to help you a lot down the road. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope this helped you out, and good luck with your projects.